Okay.
Where?
Okay, so here we are. Bulavinaka, aloha, everyone. Bulavinaka Lola. Aloha to Terry and Angela. And of course, welcoming our two guests today, Lynn Martin and Roen Hufford. I think it's Lynn Martin Graton, Graton, yeah.
Sure.
Who are our guests for today. And I'm greeting you all from the University of Hawaii Hilo on the Big Island here in Hawaii, and greeting you all with a lot of warmth during this cold season. We're sharing the love and the warmth in our different homes where we are logging in from. And we are so grateful that we have our two artists who are well known in this field of Pacific textiles, particularly the field of kapa or tapa, or in the Pacific, we call it masi in Fijian, siapo in Samoan, hiapo in Niuean, ngatu in Tongan, and of course in the western side of Oceania, we have tapa also made in Vanuatu, in the Solomon Islands, in Papua New Guinea. So it's really lovely to see such a beautiful fabric that connects us all. And there's Margot, Ali, aloha. So yay, vinaka vakalevu. So here we are with our guests connecting in from the island of Oahu, from the Washington State, from Kauai, from Western Australia, from Hong Kong. Wow, we're getting international here. So vinaka vakalevu. So for those of you who are joining in live on my platform, if you can just kindly type on the chat where you are logging in from, because we'd love to know which part of the world you're logging in from, because our guests, who are our chief guests today, Roen Hufford and Lynn Martin Graton, will be sharing their amazing skills and techniques of kapa making and basketry. So today I'm gonna hand over the mic over to Roen, and maybe if we start off our talk story, just to introduce yourself to the audience and those who are logging in, just to know a little bit about yourself. So we'll start with Roen and then we'll go to Lynn. Mahalo, Roen.
Thank you for inviting me to be a part of this. My name is Roen Hufford. My mother taught me how to beat kapa, and since her passing in 2019, I have had the great good fortune of having a group of students who they've been very helpful in my research, and the research is the constant beating of the kapa itself. So these people, both men and women, come together fairly regularly, and they want to know about the traditional Hawaiian methods to beat kapa. And so we've learned a lot from the plant material itself. So I went out this afternoon and I harvested a little bit. Just to let you know, this is a time when the wauke, and this particular variety is called po'aha with the heart-shaped leaves, is somewhat dormant. And it took me a while to figure this out, why we couldn't get the bast, get the inner bark off the stalk of the tree at certain times of the year. And we figured out that it was regulated by the number of light hours and dark hours in the day, and whether the plants are responding to maybe cold and water. So at this time of year, the sap is not running in the plant. And so that makes it very difficult for us to pull it off of the stalk. So we don't harvest. we do other things like transplant, make our patch bigger, we weed, we enjoy the holidays, and then we start printing some of the pieces that we've beaten at other times during the year. So here in Waimea, on the island of Hawaii, we harvest between the end of June all the way to November. And it's almost like clockwork when the bass just stops coming off. And we realize that we have to do other things, and that we have to just take the storehouse of material that we've beaten in 6 months and start felting it into larger pieces. So, or this is the time where we fashion our tools, repair them if they're damaged from the constant beating, or we carve new designs on the iekuku, the four-sided beater. One of my students just drove up here yesterday, so excited because she had taken down a very large kawaya tree. Kawaya is native to this part of the island, and it looks like a little tiny koa tree. And she had to take the tree down, and she had the tree trimmers come and harvest the tree, and told them to take the wood and use it for sell it to woodworkers. With the condition was that they had to give her back enough wood for her to fashion a kua, or her anvil, and iekuku, the four-sided beaters, or the hohoa, the bullet-shaped beaters. So she drove up here to show me what they had given her for her trading them this huge tree. And so now this is the time of year when she would be working on making her anvil, getting it ready, carving her tools, and sharing it with the other students. They do a lot of that, which is really nice. Not only do they share their time with me, but they share with each other. And that is part of this whole process, where we're not just learning how to beat the kapa and learning how to make large pieces, or learning about natural dyes, or learning how to carve iekuku. Thank you, Lynn. This is a small version of what my student is going to be carving out of her kawaya. She has enough wood to make kua about 3 times this size. This is my my mobile kua. It can fit in a suitcase, and I can take it anywhere in the world with me if I need to. So, and actually this kua was made by one of my students for me. My students want to do this, and they realize, first of all, they have to have the plant material. So that's why we take care of our wauke patch. And second, they need to have their own tools. So one of them has really excelled in the building of her tools, and she does workshops regularly for people who want to do this. And it's a great help for them. I have a student who comes all the way from San Rafael, California. She's come in the past 4 months, she's come 3 times. And the last time was to make her kua and make her beaters. So they're really a dedicated bunch of students. And if I need help for anything, they're right there. And the last thing besides helping each other is, oh my goodness, we have a sense of community when we get together. Monday afternoons when we meet is the time where they come. Somebody brings something to eat. We do the tasks that need to be done, beating the mo'omo'o, or stripping the wauke. And there's this camaraderie that develops, and there's a lot of gossiping and a lot of sharing. My youngest student is 10, and my oldest is probably older than me. and I'm 71. So it's a nice group that gets together, and we all laugh because the saying was, you could hear the village before you saw it. And that's what it sounds like on my farm on Monday afternoons. And with all the beating on the kua, multiplied about 10 times, or the beating on stones, multiplied about like 10 times, and then all the gossiping that goes on. And and so that's one of the nice things about having this group, that I don't have to do it in solitary confinement. There's always somebody who wants to help me do something. So
Rowan, if you can just say the name of the wooden platform that you're holding. Is it in Hawaiian? Is it?
This is a kua la'au. La'au means plant. It's a general word for plant. So, or kua ku. The word ku means to beat. It's that sound of the beater. Okay, so the first beater is bullet shaped, and this it's called the hohoa. I have two kinds here. This one is my mother's first tool, and it has grooves in it that help to spread the fibers out. This one is a native wood called uhi. It's very dense and heavy. This is another hohoa, and this one is made out of ala'a, another native wood. Fortunately, there are a few tool makers. They like to just do the tools. They don't beat the kapa, but they end up gifting them to students of this art. Usually a hohoa is used beaten on the bast on a stone. Then you have the ie kuku, which is, there's that word again, kuku, which means to beat, right? So it's four-sided, and on each side there are different designs, usually some kind of parallel lines, then a flat side, and then a side which might have designs that are carved at angles or like a fishnet. And they all do certain things to the fibers as you beat. They spread them out, they break them. They put a watermark into the kapa, so it acts as a mark of the maker, tells you who made it. And it lets light come through the kapa and make a very interesting design. On the wall, I have dyed pieces, and those are all dyed with natural colors. Lynn's going to move the computer around so you can see, but I wanted to share these pieces of kapa. These are the wauke has been beaten and made into a kapa. This was one tree that was beaten out. What's that? About 18 inches, 20 inches wide. And this was beaten out by one of my students. They do a great job. And you can see where the side branches in the kapa have been. That's in the wauke, where there's little holes. So in the event that you want to make a larger piece, you would take several of these and wet them again and felt them with another piece and beat them out wider. But these are once beaten pieces of kapa. Nice. We call it mo'omo'o. Here's another example of mo'omo'o. Nice. This one is about 6 feet long. I can't show you in the whole screen, but it can be. It's nice and soft, so you can see it. You can wear it around your body to keep yourself warm. And this is a really nice fine piece made by one of my students. I didn't do this, and it's like gauze. So you can really wrap it and it's nice and soft on your body. And then there's pieces like on the wall, there are art pieces that are stiff and not as much life in them as these. These are more the traditional clothing that was worn by people.
So for that piece you have around you, how
Yeah.
long would it take for your student to make that piece?
2 hours.
Wow.
2 hours. Of course, prior to that, there was 12 to 18 months of growth of the plant, then the harvesting, which took a day, then the soaking in seawater, which is 2 to 3, 3 days to a week in seawater, and then another 3 or 4 days in fresh water, and then we start beating, and you could get this. We also have this whole, we lay this out on a table to dry, and on the edges, we place little stones, and that prevents the piece from shrinking as it dries. And the funny story is once I was doing this with a family member, so they would know, from Michigan, they would know what I was doing. And I said, okay, take your piece and put the stones on it to hold it down. And I turned around and the whole piece was covered with rocks. I mean, it was like a beach. But it held the piece down and it dried nice and flat. So my students say when they're ready to put it out to dry, they say, okay, shall we rock it? And we all say, yes, let's rock it. And we put all the stones around the kapa. So that's what it's like on Mondays here. It's noisy. It's a lot of fun. We have snacks and we do a lot of rocking. What else shall I tell you?
Natural dyes.
Yes, okay. So the natural dyes that I use, I try not to go too far. So some of these things are grown right here on my farm. The other day, I collected some popolo leaves, Solanum nigrum. It's a nightshade, and it makes a nice light green, medium to light green. Some of them can be very fugitive. They don't last long. But I learned to put the color on the cup of using natural colors. So it's very difficult for me to use anything but natural colors. I know how they're going to react and behave, and part of that is the surprise that they give me. So I use turmeric, which is golden color, and I've learned to, here's my dye bowl. I learned that you can change the turmeric from a golden yellow to a bright red by putting a pinch of baking soda in it, and that will change the color. So you're changing the pH. I also use there's a couple of nice blue greens that I can get. One of them is with a native hibiscus. We call it ma'ohauheli. It's yellow, but it actually can give you a blue-green color. The blue-green in this one is also from a plant that's particular to this big island. It's called spirulina, blue-green algae. I use alaya or earth. And some of my alaya comes from Oahu, as well as Kauai'a's brown here. And the black is soot, which comes from my wood fireplace or from sugarcane, ash or charcoal, and kukui. We also did a fun project where we took the bass before we even beat it. we stuck it in a bucket of kukui, root of the kukui, the inner bark of the kukui, and it makes a lovely brown color. And Lynn, put your phone behind the piece. Can you see what happened? You can see the beading marks. We had such fun with that. Those are the marks that the hohoa made as we beat the bast out. So what we do just to hasten the process, instead of waiting for weeks sometimes to dye the bast, we'll put it in a slow cooker, and it warms it up, and in 2 or 3 days the color will be really nice on the bouquet. What else can I tell you? You want to get the tools? Oh, some of the tools that we use to make designs I've inherited from my mother. It's usually my
I'm the helper.
She's the helper. These are ohei kapala that have been carved out of slivers of bamboo. Ohei is bamboo, kapala it means to print. And so these were all carved by my mother when she was very active beating kapa. I like to use them. And people would come to visit her and they would take pictures of her tools. They're all over the internet. And but I like to put maybe 1 or 2 of her tools, take them and put them in my kapa and combine them with tools that I have made. Usually my habit is to make the tool and to make this kind, stamp up and down rather than like this. And so I have a whole group of tools that I've made myself. I like to use different stems of plants. So
I have a question from Angela.
Sure.
When do you use the core stone versus the wood?
Oh, I use the stone at the very first beating, and if I use the kua la'au when we're doing the final beatings, spreading it out, and want to get it a certain size and thickness.
Okay, so this is heavy. So here's what it looks like.
Yeah, you can
So
see
it's
the,
flat.
yeah. That's the small stone.
Wow, that's a small stone.
There's a much
That's
bigger one out there.
Wow.
Yeah, I have a stone that's about this big around, and it's been polished, so it's smooth. And my students call it the magic stone. It was harvested from close to the summit of Ka'ala, which is the highest point on Oahu, over 4,000 feet. And there's an outcropping of basalt at the top of the mountain there, and on the Waianae side. And a carver went up the mountain and he chipped off this chunk of stone this big and carried it down the mountain, and then he ground it nice and smooth. It's like a granite countertop.
Wow.
And then he put it on the barge, because they won't take it on the airplane. You can't send it through the mail. Put it on the barge and sent it to my mother. He didn't even know her, but he was encouraged by another carver friend to make tools that different kapa makers could use. And he's done that for a number of kapa makers, given them a kua pohaku, pohaku meaning stone, on which they can do their first beading. That very fine gauzy piece that I showed you was beaten totally on a kua pohaku. It was beaten on my magic stone. So,
Wow.
so if if the material to the stone, and because the stone's very hard and dense, and it helps to spread the fibers out well.
Mm.
Oh, the last thing is I like to use the stems of different plants. I'll cut them. And this is one of my favorites. This is Sansevieria, or mother-in-law's tongue. It's a kind of succulent, and it gives, I like to use bird of paradise stems. You can use banana stems. And then lastly, I like to use a tool that maybe one of my students made. Some of them will carve little stamps for me to show me that they understood the whole process. And I like to put that in a piece. So I have my mother, I have, and that's just about it. And then I like to share them with people who enjoy all of this. So thank you for letting me share all of this. I could go for days. But the best part is that I can just step outside. It took a while for my husband and I to set up my space so that I could just go outside and work at any time. I try not to do it at night. That's nighttime is reserved for rest. But in the daytime and in the afternoon, that's when you can hear the beating here on the farm.
And also, Tarisi, I'm going to ask Roen maybe to make just a comment about the relationship between growing food and growing the vauke. That was the relationship, especially in ancient Hawaii, what that relationship was.
Right,
Thank
right.
you.
The men grew the food, they cooked the food, women beat kapa all day long. So it was a man's responsibility to make sure that the wauke was growing so the women could have something to beat. And so they fashioned the tools and cared for the wauke plants. So they planted the wauke close by the food, right? Maybe on the perimeters of the lo'i, so they could tend them at the same time. Because daily you would have to remove the side branches because the habit of the plant is to get bushy. And so you have to prune it down so you get a long stalk free of side branches. So that was done by children and men in the patch, and the women did all. So it turns out that my mother acquired this 9.75 acres of Hawaiian homelands back in 1978. And one of the first things she did was to plant this wauke plant that she had carried around in a pot for many years. That she bought it with her when she moved to this island from Oahu in 1973. So this plant was stuck in this pot for a long time. And wauke doesn't like being potted. It likes to, it can be very invasive. It likes to spread its roots out and spread out and make lots of plants. So one of the first things she did when she got this farm was to put the wauke in. And so now that wauke has been growing for more than 40 years. And I have a sizable patch, so I can support all the people who want to learn how to do this, as well as myself with it. And in 1990, when my husband and I moved here, we were interested in growing our own food. And so it turns out, just like historically, we have wauke and we have food patches growing side by side. And the women in my family make kapa and the men work in the field. So it just, well, it's a natural way of doing all of this. So I'm happy not to be active growing the food part, because I had to kind of step over the fence and help grow the food too. But I'm spending more time beating kapa right now in my old age. So anyway, Lynn has a lot to tell you about her fibers that she uses. We've struck up a friendship through my mother, it turns out. Lynn is about the same age as me, but we come together through my mother, Lynn's association with my mother, and my association with my mother. Seems like my mother is the pivot point of all of this. And Lynn's going to tell you all about what she does.
That's
You have any
awesome.
other questions for Roen?
Oh, I do have a question. Could I
Okay, go,
ask one?
Margot. Yes, you can.
Hi. We met before in Waimea. I was really happy to meet you. But anyway, I heard that you can make kapa from other plants beside wauke, and I wasn't sure which ones. Was that breadfruit or something?
Yes, you can make it out of ulu and momaki. I have not had experience with either of them. I'm told that momaki, the fibers are short, so they're less desirable. If you want to make a big piece, ideally it would be with wauke, so you have
Right.
long fibers. The same thing goes for ulu.
Right.
Also, the color of those fibers is different. And like I tell my students, long, white, and fine is what you should aspire to first of all. So you want nice white fibers from the wauke. That's the best, and
Right.
and long fibers, so you have lots of leeway on size, and you can beat it out nice and fine, like I
And
showed.
probably the design looks better on a white fiber.
Yeah, it's you have more design freedom.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
I need to make one last addition. I didn't want to do this, and people are always surprised when I say that, but I was quite content to let my mother do it, and to be her helper. And if she needed me to go harvest something or go get her a dye material, or even to strip and beat, but I didn't want to be in the forefront. But at one point in her life where she just didn't, it was quite painful, beating all the time, because her tools were too long. We found that out. The tools were too long. And nobody told me that, but they need to be ergonomic. They need to fit your arm, your hand. And a hula master told us this, so I don't remember what the term is, but there's this measurement from your wrist to your elbow.
That makes sense.
So when you beat, you're not wielding the thing that's really long. And my mother figured, because she didn't have the disconnect, she didn't have her mother to tell her how to do all that, or she didn't have a mother to inherit tools from. I was so lucky to get all of that. And but anyway, so she got tired. She said, I've done everything I wanted to do. She met all the goals that she'd set for herself personally, and she set some really high goals. If you know about my mother, you know what she's done, and that was all in her plan. And when she was finished with that, she said, take the tools, take the kuo to your house. And I said, Mom, the tools are too long. She said, got them. And I went immediately to the chop saw and I chopped it off. I chopped them off, and they're much more comfortable for me. I can beat for long periods of time where before I couldn't. And my students now know how to make their own tools so it fits their body. And one student in particular makes tools for children. She's always been asked in the school system to do kapa with children, and she's happy to do it. So she had to make tools that a child's hand could hold. So, like I said, but I didn't want to do this. My mother said, no, you have to do this. And so here I am. I'm doing it.
Well done. Woohoo.
Thank you.
It's just so nice
Okay,
to hear
Lydia,
your
it's your
story.
turn.
Yeah. To know
All
that
right.
your mom has, it's
Yeah,
like a prophecy from your mom, and you're still championing it today. And everyone
Yeah,
is so
my
blessed
mother-
to still have you. Mm.
My mother was an art educator, and so she educated me to do this.
Beautiful. Thank you
Does
so much,
everyone know who
Roen.
her mom was?
Yes, maybe
I don't
you
know
can
if anybody who's
share a little bit about
logged
mom.
on. Marie McDonald was her name.
Marie McDonald.
You can look her up, the two beautiful lay books that Roen helped her write. Kale
Beautiful.
Hawaii and Nale Makamai. So, hi. Some of you I know, and you know that I've had a very long, maybe 45-year journey weaving coconut fronds mostly into baskets. And because we are here in Roen's studio, I'm going to show you a very short, what I hope is a short PowerPoint with some images, because I thought that would be easier. So bear with me. I'm going to share my screen and see if this works. Okay. And you guys have to tell me if it works. Can you see it? Okay?
Yes, looks good. Yeah, we can see it.
Very good.
Okay. So I thought, rather than start with my history, I find so many people get confused when they see my baskets. They think that they're made from lauhala, but actually I only work with coconut. So I wanted you to see a picture. Here's a coconut tree, which in Hawaiian is called new, and a common pandanus tree, which is hala. So from the very get-go, the trees look different. And then the most important difference is that lauhala is woven with the leaves that are dried. And in Hawaii, they prepare those leaves actually by collecting them already dried from the tree. Whereas Tarisi, when I spent 3 months in Fiji and I spent some time with some nuns that were working with lauhala, they showed me that they cut the leaves green, but then they boil them and dry them. And pretty much throughout the Pacific, they coil those dried leaves. And in Hawaii, that's called a kuka'a. And then for lauhala, you can strip them with all kinds of inventions have been made to strip even strips. And so you have what I like to call a free floating strip. And oops, here we go. Oh, okay. So you can weave lauhala by sitting at a table with these dried leaves. And the most common products, as you can see, are mats and baskets and hats. And there's been a resurgence of interest in lauhala here in the Hawaiian Islands. So now there are so many amazing, productive hat weavers, especially. Not as many people making mats. And my theory on that is it's so much work to prepare the leaves, the lauhala leaves. They have thorns and spines and you have to smooth them out. That it's more productive financially to make papale. Whereas now shifting to coconut fronds are cut green and they stay green through the whole time that you work with them. And a lot of times people will say, oh, you should go find a tree trimmer and use the leaves that they're trimming from the hotels or the businesses. But actually those older leaves are not weavable. I have to go towards the center of the tree. You can see those are really nice weaving leaves on the right. When I was younger, I used to haul myself up into lower trees, but I've achieved kupuna status. So now I have helpers, young men who I can point to the right leaves. And the basket that I learned, Tarisi, in Fiji, that kete, you have to use the very new youngest shoots for that. So the other thing that makes weaving with coconut so unique is that you strip off the leaflets from the center stalk in a nice long continuous strip. And most baskets are made by locking together both sides of the frond, an even number from both sides of the frond. Oh, yes. Okay. So here, oh, actually they won't see. Oh, you can see it in the corner. I mean, this is the tip of a frond, if you can see that, and see how the leaflets spread out on either side. So I would come in here and I would strip a continuous strip. And the other thing is you really need to sit on the floor, on the ground, or on a mat. And you very often have to use your whole body and even your toes. There's a photo there of things stuck into my toes. And that's quite a different activity than working with lawala. And they are always woven with the leaflets green, and then the baskets you'll see will dry. So I can make baskets, and even though I don't like to make hats, you can. And thatching, and there's some flat mats you can make. And so these are all freshly green woven baskets. This one is, so this is what they look like. I'm getting a little message, our internet connection's unstable, sorry. This is a photograph that Marco took of me sitting in my dining room with a lot of dry. This is an anthropology.
Yeah, so it looks, she seems like she's sitting inside a museum. So let's wait until they get back. So the internet is back again. Okay, thank you, Lynn. She's back again. Bula, Lynn, I know we lost you. I think your internet dropped. Okay. Yep, you're back again. Okay, we can see you.
Can you hear?
Yes, we can hear you and see you.
Okay, so historically, I'll try to wrap this up. Historically, weaving with coconut seems to me to be more common on, and I may lose you again. I'm getting an unstable internet thing. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Carry on.
So most of my weaving was done in Micronesia. So I just wanted to show you a map of what the Micronesian islands look like. I lived on Guam for 6 years, and I traveled to Palau, Yap, Ponape, and to learn to weave on those islands.
Wow.
So I've circled the parts of the Pacific where I went to learn to weave.
Wow.
And here are some photographs. This is of the women who taught me. This is the first woman I worked with when I lived on Guam. Her name, she's passed away. Her name is Eulalia Haudui Walsh. She was from Ulithi Atoll in the Central Carolines. This is Ikalau Bodor from Palau. And this is Kalisi from Fiji, Nella from Pohnpei, and Mikalia. She was from Kapinga Marangi, but she lived on Pohnpei. And I did want to point out that the research into the history and the different types of coconut basketry was actually pioneered from expeditions conducted by the Germans in 1908 to 1910. So these are photographs from their journals showing a wide variety of coconut baskets from Micronesia. And in those parts, in those islands, you know, baskets fall into categories where some are really basic for use for everyday work. So this is a fishing basket used on Guam, Guahan. This is a little, I went to visit the weaver who lived in this little compound, and you can see baskets are laying up against trees, and when they wear out, they can just go into the compost pile. And here's making mats for thatching and for sitting on. And this is a photograph that Margot gave me from, is this a first baby ceremony, Margot, with gift baskets of food?
Right, right. That's coconut baskets with traditional food to distribute to everyone who attended the birth ceremony. And that, see the space on top of the basket?
Yeah.
So a lot of weaving there.
Yeah.
Wow. And what is in the basket?
It looks like tapioca.
Tapioca, right? Steamed.
Prepared in
steamed.
these long leaf wrap.
Aha. Wow. Looks
And
so
some
beautiful.
taro. The background is taro.
Mm. Okay. Wow. That's amazing.
We're breaking up a little bit. And so this we have baskets that I carry every day. I mean, and I can show you at the end when we stop screening, but my everyday,
Yeah. This picture of this gentleman holding his basket looks really nice.
My hippie briefcase. Yeah, people going out on the field trip ship back to the Central Carolina
Wow.
atolls, but you can see everybody's, and this, I just wanted now at this section to let you know that what I discovered when I first started weaving is that certain islands have developed, the weavers from those islands developed shapes and ways of closing the baskets that are totally unique to their island. And so that's what became fascinating to me. So here's a 1908 drawing of this kopwo from Pohnpei, and this is one I made very recently.
Wow.
So that's over 100 and some years worth of continuity with the shape. And the woman who taught me this one, now that she told, well, through her son, told me that originally these baskets would have been made as cradles for a newborn. And here's an array of basket shapes. When I was still living, I spent some time on the continent, and when I would come back once a year, I would go up to my friend's house at Pololu, and I would weave every basket I know how to weave to make sure that I didn't lose the muscle memory of it all. So you can see there's Tahiti, Hawaii, Palau, Guahan. You can see the where all the islands that they're from. And green versus dried. And these two circular forms here, these are unique to Hawaii. I haven't seen these basket shapes in other islands. Whereas this closing, you'll see it in the next slide. The bottom of these top two baskets, I learned on Palau, whereas this is, the bottom two are from Guam, and you can see from the inside and the outside of the basket how different they are.
Wow.
And then there's all these fun ornaments that you can make. And my theory is that the origin of them is a mystery, because I've learned them from people from the Pacific. I learned this version of the fish from a woman from Burma. So now I'm going to just a transition here, since this is an anthropology group, is that who would have guessed that weaving gave me insights into what became a career? I became a folklorist for 37 years. I worked for state government and for a historic farm. And I like to think that spending time with tradition bearers in their homes, eating with them, understanding their way of life, gave me the ability to be a better listener and a better supporter. Both the top two images are the left is me doing field work with cowboys on Maui. Then I'm, and the right is with Marie, Rowan's mom, and Rowan's aunt at the festival in Tahiti. And the bottom two are, I spent 21 years working in New Hampshire with accordion players and fiddlers. And through the course of my career, produced festivals, exhibitions, recordings, publications. But I like to think that the ability to be sensitive and accurately represent those cultures came from the very beginning. Apology students about where their life might go, where they might take their interests in a career. I just think firsthand experience, finding a meaningful path to going beyond just studying a culture, but trying to make a difference.
So true. Wow.
Can lead you in so amazing places. And the three facilities have helped them with other people. And that is, one is the Smithsonian The Smithsonian Institution has a division that's called the Center for Folk on, a really incredible festival. And I've won for Hawaii in 1989, and then 10 years later for New Hampshire. So this is the URL, and you could look it up and tell your students they have internships where you can go and learn about cultures from around the world and work with these amazing curators and festival organizers. Then there's also the American Folklife Center at the Library of Congress, which has an amazing research collection and archives from culture from around the world, where you can, back in the beginning when I first started making recordings, they loaned me a really high-end Swiss tape recorder so I could go out and make, that was how I made my first recordings of Clyde Sprode and all kinds of musicians here in the islands. They're wonderful staff. And then there's the National Endowment for the Arts, which is actually who paid my salary for many years when I first started off, and they've got grants. And they've just launched a national folklife network where they're trying to broaden their impact into rural communities throughout the United States. So I think tuning into their new blog on that is a great way to go. And that's it. So this is just some photographs of hands telling the story. Okay.
Wow, thank you so much, ladies. That was awesome.
We're bringing Rowan back.
Yeah, thank you so much, ladies. So maybe I'll open it up to our audience members. We've got.
Okay, so here's my hippie briefcase.
Oh, look at
I
that!
carry it everywhere.
Well, Lynn, I know where you live. I can borrow that basket, please.
Oh yes. You need a kete to carry around.
Yeah.
Isn't she wonderful, Rowan?
That is great. Thank you so much, Rowan. Thank you, Lynn, for just being here with all of us, you know, from Hong Kong, from Washington, from Kauai, Oahu, here in Hilo, and Western Australia, and we've got listeners live from different parts of the world. So I'm going to read out the places where some of these people have mentioned. They from the mainland, from Sydney, New South Wales, and there's some from one of the southern islands in Fiji. And I know there's so many others who were listening in, and even Nicole Garcia from Honoka'a. Aloha, Nicole. Thank you for logging in. And there's another lady here, Gina, logging in from China. So ni hao, Gina. So it's really, really lovely to have all these international people listening in. So Tasha, would you like to make a comment or just say what you appreciated from the talk, Tasha?
Hi, everyone. I just really enjoyed, as a student still of the language and the culture, I've just really appreciated listening to your stories and your journeys, and just thank you for taking the time to share it with us. Obviously, it's from Hawaii, but I love seeing the similarities that we all share, which I guess connects us at the end of the day. So it's really, yeah, really inspiring, and I really appreciate all the knowledge that you shared with us. Thank you.
May I just interject another story that I just remembered? A woman came to me a few years ago when I was out in the Wauke patch, and she wanted to collect some of the leaves from the Wauke. Her friend was going to do DNA studies on it, and her idea was if she could find some similarities between the Wauke all around the Pacific, and even so far away as China and Nepal, then she could make some kind of hypothesis on how people migrated around these islands. And so the leaves from our Wauke patch were given to her, and she collected leaves from all over. And I finally met this woman. Her name is Andreas Sillenfreud. She's from Chile with connections to Rapa Nui, and she's published a paper. I think you can access it on the internet, but it turns out that some of my Wauke has its origins in China. And so it's nice to know now. Couple makers will say, well, where is your Wauke from? Is it Hawaiian Wauke or is it Chinese Wauke? But it also points to the fact that Pacific peoples, not just Hawaiians, were smart enough to put the rootstock in their canoes and travel all over the Pacific with it, along with their food, and take it from place to place because they knew it would be necessary for them to carry on living. So while my Wauke has its ancestors in Taiwan, it just shows you how resilient the people were, how smart they were to carry all their food stuff. Just like when we go on the airplane and go to California or wherever, we put all the things that we need, you know, our toothbrush and in our bag and take it with us and use it in another place. So that's what they did here. They carried all these. Wauke was a canoe plant that it went with kalo and was placed here.
And I think a part of that story that makes it so important is that there are so few islands throughout the entire Pacific where there is a tradition of loom weaving. So garments and bedding, clothing had to be made from pounded bark.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because with the loom weaving, it's mainly found in the Philippines, yeah, Indonesia, and back into Southeast Asia. That is absolutely right. Yeah. So a lot of weaving and textile production by hand is very common in the Pacific.
So there, Margot knows this, that we've both been out to parts of the Pacific, the Central Caroline Islands, the atolls to the east of Yap. They weave on backstrap looms, used originally with banana and hibiscus fiber, but these days with cotton thread. Some of the islands like Feist really excelled in elaborate patterning for those textiles. And there may be one or two other islands, yeah, Margot, Polynesian outliers that have a tradition of loom weaving.
Marco, you're
Margot,
muted.
unmute.
Oh, sorry. I think there's certain places in Melanesia too that are outliers where they do backstrap loom weaving, but I forgot the names.
I think would it be Ontong Java or along
Maybe,
in in the Solomon Islands region?
could be somewhere in Melanesia.
Ah,
But it's
And
rare.
Koshrai too in Micronesia.
That's it.
Yeah. So apparently they moved throughout the Pacific and brought the loom with them, but it missed certain places, like you don't find it in Palau, you don't find it in Chuuk.
Or the Marshalls,
No,
Tonga or Samoa or Fiji. Right?
maybe Marshalls doesn't have the resources. It's just a low atoll, so they couldn't do it anyway, probably.
Wow.
Anyway, it just corroborates the importance and the wisdom of packaging up rootstock from Valke plants and making sure that that was there along with the food starts and the animals you needed to live. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. That is amazing. Yes, Margot?
I was just wondering about this is going back to kapa, about kapa in Fiji. Is it done the same as Hawaii? I know Hawaii has the fibers meshing more, and in Fiji, do they glue it?
Yes, we do. Yeah, we have the masi plant, so similar process. We also do the joining or the gluing, very similar to the Tongan and the Samoan. But what I find different for us is the stenciling in terms of the patterning. I really like the Hawaiian, the pattern with the bamboo stick, but with the Fijians, we have the stencils already pre-made, and then we rub above the stencil. The Tongans, they go below, the stencil go below, and then they rub above. So there are some techniques that are different.
Yeah.
So for the Fijians, our colors as well, the dyes, our colors are more just brown and black are the two common colors, or the smoked ones, the smoked brown ones that are reserved for high rank. So our tapa as well for Fiji is ranked. So there are some colors that are reserved for royalty and others are just for the commoners. Yeah.
I would imagine in Hawaii, the common man didn't really have pattern cloth. And actually, a lot of the really elaborate and exquisite patterns that you see, printed patterns, are post-discovery, post-1776. Prior to that, the kapa that was collected by various explorers, the designs were lines, very lines and plaids and stripes, that kind of thing. And then the use of the ohekapala came with the introduction of a metal blade. So that would have been post 1778. And we know that kapa fell out of fashion around the 1865, 1868, with more use of woven fibers that were introduced by missionaries. Why would Hawaiian women spend their day laboring, beating kapa when they could get a bolt of brightly colored calico and many, many yards of it, and then be able to wash that stuff and have it be used over and over again. So they quickly gave up kapa. So this resurgence of interest in it now as an art form is really exciting, just as leis became more exciting with the need to ornament our bodies when we danced or for special occasions. So all this interest in the arts of Hawaii is really, I find myself in the middle of it with, because my mother was in the middle of it, and it makes life really interesting.
Wow. And it's really fascinating too, in this new era, a lot of younger Fijians are now more interested to wear tapa during their wedding. So the wedding dresses and the wedding costumes are very, very popular. Some are made into contemporary way, but the original material is tapa, and it makes me smile. I'm just so happy when I see that. Because I wouldn't like to see the use of the tapomasi, as we call it in Fijian, to be lost. But to see the younger generation adoring it, and adorning it at the same time, I just find it so awesome, that this younger generation, and they're proud to wear it. Even I see weddings in England, weddings in the US, weddings in Europe, and and they proudly wear them. And I'm like, wow, there's like a huge resurgence, for the appreciation of this fabric. And yeah, I just want to thank you, Rowan, for championing it for Hawaii. And then also in terms of the weaving, with the baskets and all of it, it's very trendy, these days, to see even young Fijians. I think there was a picture of this young girl. I'm not sure whether it was taken in New Zealand. She had it on her back or on her arm while she was about to board the train. And I think this must be New Zealand. And it became very popular because for a young girl, proudly holding her basket, not a Louis Vuitton bag, but, a basket of that sort, the woven one. And she was very proud to hold it like that and to use it in an urban space. And so again, Lynn, for you to keep it alive, and I will definitely join your class next year. Tasha, you have to fly over, and we should join both of Lynn's and Rowan's class.
I'll come along with me.
Actually, what I'm really happy to have learned recently is there's a group of Marshallese ladies in South Kona who have been teaching at Donkey Mill, which I'm so pleased that they're doing that. Because when I learned to weave coconut, it was always one-to-one. And because so much is involved with how you hold your body, it's hard to teach a large group. And I learned the old way where I had to watch. They didn't really explain to me what to do when. If I made a mistake, she'd grab it away from me, fix it, give it back to me. I'd make another mistake, she'd grab it, fix it. So teaching coconut is a whole skill set, and because there's a nice larger group of ladies from the Marshall Islands that live in South Kona, and they have access to the leaves, which I don't, because that Cocos nucifera doesn't really grow up here in Waimea. It's too cold and too high. But anyway, I'm really pleased that they're active, and I hope more groups of Micronesian weavers who now live here in the islands, in the Hawaiian Islands, can form little huis, and nonprofit organizations. This is the folklorist in me. Nonprofit organizations will recognize that it takes a group of them to come in and pass that tradition on.
Absolutely.
Talking
So
about,
Then
Hey, Terry.
let's write a NEA grant proposal.
Okay, that sounds good.
February or something.
Oh, there's a deadline
For
coming
funding,
up. Yeah,
2023.
that's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
so one last word about carrying on the tradition. Each of my students came with a different goal in mind. I have a a lady who makes books. I have a lady who is interested in the tools and the woodworking. I have a lady who, she came to beat kapa to wrap bones in it. That was her main focus. She didn't care about anything else, just she needed to make pieces to wrap bones in it.
For reburial.
Yeah, for reburial, right. And then another wanted to make a banner for Lonoika Makahiki, and she realized that she had the skill to do it, and she did it. And now she's going to make a bigger one. So they all come with a certain goal in mind, and they're able to achieve it. And that to me is really exciting when they're able to do that.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much for both of your, the efforts and the time you both spent to teach. Because it's not easy, I think, in some places to teach, large groups of people with different, aims or vision. But you're both such experienced teachers, and you see students keep coming back, wanting to learn. And again, with the different age groups, as you said, Rowan, a very young student, and then one that is older than you. How do you cope with the different age groups in your teaching?
Well, they all help each other.
Right.
So if somebody is not doing it correctly, or they're beating too fast or too hard, the lady next to them will say, you need to slow down. You need to beat lighter. We all help each other.
Wow,
When the
that's
piece gets
awesome.
big enough, we have to move it together. One person can't move a very large piece, so we do it together.
That is awesome. It's a kind of bring people together, creates a lot of teamwork, and enable that the team effort or group work.
Right.
And I know you met Tui and McGillis and her mom, who
Right.
both came from Tonga, but via New Zealand. So it's really nice to see, groups of women in different parts of the world, trying to pass on, the skill, particularly from Sulawesi, Barras, to his mom, who's, encouraged to keep doing this in Aotearoa. So it's really nice as well to see their work, like both of you exhibiting in, galleries, and now they're using their, skills to bring it into spaces that we don't normally see, tapa or basket. So for you, Lynn, what encouraged you to travel around these places and learn how to weave? Like, what inspired you?
I think it came, I started off as a potter, working in clay. I was living in Japan, and I was attracted to clay because I love the idea of being able to take something from nature, something raw, and convert it into something that helped you live, to have a more beautiful life, and that you could eat your food off of it. And then from Japan, I went to Guam, and I met Eulalia from Ulithi, and there was clay to pots, coconut leaves to baskets. It just made, if I was going to live in the Pacific, it made sense to learn how to harvest something that made your life more comfortable and more beautiful. And then I discovered that different islands had developed very specific, very unique ways to fashion those leaves and make them so beautiful. That really caught my attention. And I became obsessed with it until I needed to make a living. I was so fortunate to have right at the time that I finished graduate school, and that time that Bess Lomax Hawes from the National Endowment for the Arts had decided that it would be very helpful to every state across the United States, including Hawaii and Alaska, to have a folklorist helping to research and document and honor tradition bearers in their communities. And the combination of my academic background with my personal background enabled me to move into that career, which was so fulfilling. And now that I'm retired, I'm back to weaving.
Wow.
Because
that's
I
awesome.
think an important point there is that Bess was very clear with me that through the bulk of my career, even though I knew how to weave, my job was to honor and protect and help the tradition bearers that I worked with. And so I would let them know that I knew how to weave. And but I put my work on hold for that entire time so that I could devote most, 150% of my energy to helping them with whatever their needs were. And that gets back to my pep talk about what happens with your students, where their interest in anthropology may take them.
Awesome. Wow. Thank you so much, Lynn. Yeah, and I think Angela lives in Washington State. So I was going to ask you, Angela, are there weaving groups or kapa making groups where you are based?
There's a big Polynesian society or groups on the west side, on the Seattle side, that get together. I think I see more hula groups. I'm not sure that there's many weaving,
Okay.
but I don't live on that side, so I'm not totally sure about that.
And what about your museum?
Yeah, so in terms of the tribal, I work with Columbia Plateau tribes, so like the Yakama Nation. I work with the Wanapum Band of Priest Rapids. There's a history of weaving with dogbane plant, and they'll peel the bark and scrape the outside of the bark off of the bark. They'll pull out the inner bark strands and then make ropes, make different sizes of, roll them into string that then they use to weave different kinds of baskets. And then, so there'll be gathering baskets, either flat baskets or the wapas or round baskets. And then there's also using cedar and other material to make the bigger, harder berry baskets. So there's a lot of weaving in terms of plant gathering activities. And then the wapa or the dogbane also for string and rope and nets for fishing and things like that too.
Wow, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing, Angela, because you never know, we should have a combined a workshop or a joint exhibition. What say, ladies? If we apply for the 2022 funding, we can do it in 2023. And by then, we hope the COVID is gone. So we can meet somewhere here in Waimea or in Oahu, or maybe meet during the Festival of Pacific Arts in 2024, because I know the Hawaii is hosting. So I hope that, we can be able to do that while people are here in Hawaii. What do you think, Margot?
Fantastic idea. With you ahead of it, we'll surely make it.
Yes, yeah, we'll definitely. The time is on our side, and I know Terry is excited to apply and fill that form that is due in February. He's got thumbs up, so that's good. And if we combine our efforts, I'm sure we can have things ready by 2024. That's what I'm really trying to do, to get some of my students involved. And if my students and the community artists, work together, wow, that'll be really, really great. Some of my colleagues in the Pacific going to be here for the festival, but I told them, you don't have to be in Oahu, you can come over to the Big Island. So maybe Lynn, myself, and Rowan can organize some things on the Big Island. So when they travel over from Oahu, because the festival will be 2 weeks, so some of them can come over and we can do, community exhibitions and activities here for our visitors as well as the locals to be part of it. That'll be amazing. Yay. So there you go. And I'll talk to my colleagues at the University of Hawaii Hilo if they can be partners to this project. So I will surely make it happen.
So Tarisi, you've probably heard that the commission has hired a festival director.
Aha.
I can send you his contact information. His name is Aaron Salah.
Okay.
I think he's part Hawaiian, but also part Samoan.
Mm,
He just finished up his PhD in ethnomusicology,
beautiful.
and
Okay.
he's a wonderful, wonderful person.
Excellent. So if you send
So
his
I'll give
contact
you his
my way.
contact information if you want to
Yes.
start laying some groundwork.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Wow, this is great. Anyone in the audience that would like to make any comments? Hi, Gina. Gina here is connecting from New Zealand. Hi, Gina. Hi, Lola. Hi, Jay. Yeah. And I think I've got a big number of fans who are still watching from different parts of the world. And most of them are just enjoying the talk story. And I think, you know, these kind of platforms are so critical, right? In this day and age in which we, especially those of us who work in the heritage field, to utilize this digital platform and talk story and share our, you know, especially for these two ladies, beautiful ladies here, Rowan and Lynn, you know, you've had so much experience over the years, and I'm just so blessed to be here to facilitate this talk story. And the last time we visited Rowan in Waimea, and I think I met Lynn in Honoka'a. And I've just been, yeah, I've just been so inspired, you know, by the energy you both have. And one thing I see that is common denominator for both of you is the spirit of sharing, right? Spirit of sharing. And that's something that I think it's really important for the whole world to know and to be encouraged by, that if you have any talent, you know, if you share that with the world, you will be blessed multifold. So, Lynn, would you like to say something to that?
Yeah, I just want to make an observation on my friend Rowan here. Is that the structure that Rowan has set up for her students is it very closely models a very traditional way of sharing knowledge. And I know the structure can't work in every situation.
Mm.
I mean, I've taken many workshops in various textile traditions especially over the last 5 years. And there's a start date and there's a start time and there's kind of a syllabus that you go through. It's very structured. But with Rowan, she has her Monday afternoon, and whatever she's doing that day, whether it's tending the Valke patch or it's stripping off the outer bark, or if it's beading, whatever it is, people come in and they just jump in with whatever is happening that day. So it creates this situation of a feeling of freedom, and where she, as she said, where her older students, her more experienced students, are willing to share with the people who come in new. So I just think if it's at all possible for a situation to be set up like that, when you're sharing a traditional art form, to kind of model it that encourages observation, that encourages respect amongst the different levels of people who are accomplished and then people who are coming new into the art form, into the tradition. It's so much richer to have all of those layers within one group.
Wow,
Master at it.
Thank you so much, Rowan. Yes.
Very natural way of doing it.
Yeah, it is.
Yes. So true. So true. Yeah.
I
And
have
even,
a-
you know, yeah,
I have
go, Margo.
one positive comment that's happening with coconut basket weaving. I got a call from Terry Skillman of Hawaii Arts Alliance. And usually the Arts Alliance deals not so much with Micronesian arts, but she asked me if I could find her a Micronesian coconut basket weaver on Oahu to teach a class, and she wants to offer the class. So I thought that was really encouraging that she wants to do that. But I was reminded of what Lynn said about teaching coconut basket weaving. You don't just drop into a class and learn it so easily. It's and you can't teach a class of 30 all of a sudden.
Oh, no.
So
If she's interested in doing that, I'd really like, if you're thinking of Ruth or someone to teach it, is to tell Terry that it'll be much better if she can have 2 or 3 people teaching over a course of, like 4 or 5 sessions, and limit the number of students.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you can't just do it like a regular class.
It's hard.
I like Rowan's approach.
Yeah, very organic. I like it.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Yeah. Look at all this networking and the opportunities that are coming up. If there's no other questions or comments from the audience, I shall ask our 2 ladies to share any last comments or any thoughts that you'd like to leave to our audience today. Rowan, would you like to start, and then Lynn can wrap up?
My mother always said, you can't beat kapa if you don't have wauke. So the first thing is to get some wauke and plant it. And that's the beginning. So she recognized that when she dragged that plant all the way over from Kualoa, Oahu in 1973, and then welcomed other wauke starts from people on this island. And so now we have a big patch that we can do this. So you need to get the plant resource and then start fashioning your tools, and the rest will happen.
Wow, thank you so much for those words of wisdom. I've been very fortunate to have gone through Rowan's wauke patch and learned so much there as well. So mahalo nui, Rowan, for sharing Mom's reminders, Mom's words of wisdom that you cannot beat tapa if you don't have wauke. So I think it reminds us that you need to have the raw materials before you reach out to do bigger things. You have to start with the smaller things or the foundational things, which is, of course, the resource or the raw materials. Thank you so much, Rowan, for your kind words. Lynn?
It's sort of a ditto. I knew Rowan's mom first, and Marie and I worked on various projects together. And I remember she would say to me so often that she was trying, if you want to make leis, you have to have a lei garden. So it was in part a response to how at various hula competitions and so on, that the wild areas where the lei plants grow were being denuded, and even though people wanted to theoretically be respectful of the natural environment and to not overpick, that you need to have a mindset towards that cultivation. And I think probably one of the big challenges for people who are trying to preserve traditional crafts who are living in an urban setting is to develop relationships with organizations or with people who have property where those natural materials can be cultivated, including coconut. I know Rowan has supplied raw bast fiber for a number of kapa makers who live in Honolulu and don't have access to the ability to grow an invasive plant like wauke. But I think it just being mindful, and as you folks network out to trying to support traditional crafts in your own communities, including up in the Pacific Northwest, is being mindful of how over extraction of those natural resources can be counterproductive, and how do you think your way through that by establishing relationships with arboretums or nurseries or places where those plants can be grown, and there's a cooperative relationship about how they're extracted from those areas.
Or to use substitutions.
Or use substitutions. Yeah.
Wow,
We have
thank you.
My mother and I had a lei making friend who would import all his materials to Japan. He would get them from here in Hilo and take them to Japan and teach people in Japan how to make leis. And my mother said to him right off, she said, "You should make leis out of things that grow in Japan."
Yeah, there you go.
And so that's what
Makes
he does
sense.
now.
Wow.
He's an excellent lei maker, and he shares his lei making with everybody who asks, but he makes it out of materials that grow in Japan.
Wow, that is amazing. Thank you so much, ladies, for sharing your words of wisdom with all of us. And it's such a joy. You brought smiles on all our faces. Most of us have taken our time away just to come and listen to both of you, because I know you're both established in your fields of work, in kapa making and in basketry making, as well as in teaching. And I think that's such a wonderful thing to also see both of you exhibiting, in amazing spaces, even in art gallery. That is something that is really unique and very special. So Lynn and Rowan, if people would like to get hold of you, how can they get you both? Is it via email, or do you have a website? How do we find you? Or on Facebook?
On Facebook, you can, it's under Honopua Farm,
Okay.
HONOPUA Farm. You can Google my name too. It has all kinds of information.
Okay, so
For
Honopua
me,
Farm.
neither of us have a website. What's up with that? We're gonna assign my son
To do with your website.
to get us a website. For me, I'm on LinkedIn, and I think my email address is on LinkedIn, but it's pretty easy. Lynn, LYNN, no E, Folk Life, my career, at Gmail.
Wow.
Honopua Farm, Honopua@gmail.com.
There you go. We're Gmail girls.
But Lynn, you're also on Facebook, right?
I am. I'm trying to get more social media, current.
Savvy.
That's how I heard about this talk, was on Facebook.
Oh, they're good. Okay.
Yay, that's
After
awesome.
I had that show at Kahilo, I decided I needed to be more social media savvy. So, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen, our two amazing artists from the Big Island here in Hawaii. And it's a Friday here in our part of the world. We're just starting our weekend. But what a way to start the weekend for us here in Hawaii, to listen to Lynn and to Rowan and sharing their inspirational stories with us. And just for them to be here and openly share their story, it's encouraging many of us to do the same. Yeah, whatever field of work, whatever talent you have. I know Tasha, she's a painter. Most of us have different skills, and it's really nice that we can come together like this and have our Talanoa. So yes, this session is recorded, Margot. So I'll definitely share the link with those of our friends who may have missed this session. So thanks to Zoom and thanks to social media as well. So I've got my account and then I will send it as well through my YouTube channel. So I've offered this on my platform with all my friends all over the world. So I will definitely share it to those who missed this session. So maybe I can ask Margot to say a few words, and also Angela, because these two women are amazing women in their own right, in their field of work. So they didn't know this, so I'll do it the Fijian way. So Margot, I'll assign it to you. Say a few words to complete this session, and then Angela as well.
Well, I'm just lucky to be here to hear this and see all these warm, familiar faces. And I just encourage people to keep making things and preserving the environment from which all these things came. Because when you have overdevelopment and invasive species, then we lose these raw resources that we really need to make things that continue the culture. I'm happy to see everybody.
She's not saying that she grew up in Palau and she goes back to Palau and teaches there.
Wow.
You wanted me to
Margot.
talk about that?
Yeah, so I'm really happy that we have, such creative individuals on this platform. And I'm starting to look at my calendar for 2022. So definitely, Margot, you're on the list, and so is Angela. Margot, say a little bit about Palau.
Oh, yeah, I just spent 7 weeks in Palau over the summer. Wonderful to be in a COVID-free island. Very liberated, but lack of tourism, lack of economy, but people are happy and surviving and going back to subsistence living. So while there, of course, I saw at the Belau National Museum, they had a coconut basket weaving exhibit. And while I was there, I also taught printmaking to children. They love to have their summer art classes in Palau. So I go back every summer and teach the kids different things. But all those years in Palau, I keep trying to learn how to weave a basket. And every time they teach me, I say, oh yeah, I got it. And I go home and I forget. So Lynn has a good brain, and any craftsperson needs that good memory.
Wow, there you go. So Lynn, we should invite Margot to come over for a weaving weekend, right?
I know.
Thank you so much, Sulang, Margot, for your beautiful words and for sharing about Palau with us. Angela?
Put me on the spot here. So I really appreciate just having Zoom, being on the mainland, being Hawaiian here on the mainland, and having opportunities to learn more about my own culture and listen to folks like that. And I'm also really appreciative of, I think what stands out in the work that I do with the tribes here in Washington is how important it is to really understand that, Indigenous people hold these traditional knowledges, and that's an important thing to always be respectful of. And you've both really expressed that, and that there's so much to learn. And that's where the expertise lies. And so that's something I've been really kind of concentrating on in my own work and the things that I've been thinking about. So.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Angela. And lovely to connect with you over in Washington. And I know you're across the ocean from us, but it's lovely to have these online Zoom sessions, that we can be just re-energized and to remind ourselves how fortunate we are, to have this cultural heritage that is so rich. And we're so blessed to have it, and to acknowledge it as well is a wonderful thing. Thank you so much, Angela. And thank you, Margot. And on the right of my screen, I've got two of my Fijian sisters, so they don't know this. I'm going to get them to say something as well. Tasha, and then we go to Lola.
Hi again. Yeah, I guess I'm half Fijian, half Australian, but I've just this year started taking lessons with Dr. Tarisi to improve in my language ability with Fijian language and with my sister-in-law Lola. And I think through this journey and through my upbringing of learning about the culture, and I think I'm now at a stage where I start to appreciate more the depth of our culture and how it entwines with the environment in which we live. And I think I've become more aware of the need to do more to look after our environment, because it's what has given us the ability to do these things such as weaving. And I think, yeah, it's been a really beautiful journey of understanding the culture and understanding and appreciating the world in which we live, and how it's nourished us in so many ways. So yeah, thank you again for sharing all your information and knowledge, and I as a, the younger generation trying to learn, appreciate that you're continuing what you do with other generations, because it's so important to preserve it and protect it and ensure it continues for future generations.
Thank you, Tasha. And just for your information, ladies and gentlemen, Tasha's sister, Laura, she's in Fiji at the moment, because Fiji's border has officially opened, so people are flying into Fiji. And so her dad and her sister, she just completed weaving. Was it a mat?
Yes.
Tasha?
During lockdown, she'd been trying to get Dad to teach her how to weave a mat. My grandmother was a wonderful mat weaver, and so during lockdown, my sister lost a lot of her work, and so she had more time available to then learn from Dad, and Dad had no choice but to teach her because they're in the house. So she finally, after months of practicing, finished her first mat. And they've also done the weaving with the kula to do the same as one of my grandmothers that she did about 20 or 30 years ago. So it's called Vangani Vasua. And it's got a lot of crocheting and embroidery using sort of shell patterns, if you like. So I think for her, it's been a really beautiful journey that it was just a project to learn something, but it's turned into something so much more. Yeah. So, yeah.
I can hear you more than.
Thank you so much, Tasha, for sharing that. And yeah, maybe we can connect her to Lynn at some point. Lynn, I will introduce you to Laura at some point, because she's really into weaving too. So Vinakavakalevu Lynn for your story, and so is you, Tasha. Lola, because she's logging in from Perth in Western Australia. The last word for today, Lola.
Hi, everyone. I just want to say thank you for allowing me to be in this space. I feel really blessed. Like Tasha, I've joined with Tasha in doing cultural lessons with Dr. Tarisi. Just listening to you all today, I've just really learned a lot, and it's truly an honor to be amongst people who are so talented and knowledgeable and experienced in this art, especially in our generation where we can't learn firsthand, and being overseas as well. With my sister-in-law just completing her mat, it definitely has had a deeper interest in learning this and learning more about this art. So thank you so much for sharing and giving us the time to listen in.
You have a little one there?
Yeah, yeah.
You can hear him sometimes during our class. You can hear his voice behind. So he's all part of the whole class. And you never know, right? As what Rowan was saying, right? We observe. That's the first thing that we learn when we were growing up. You have to watch and learn. And so as Lynn, you are sharing that too. So thank you again, ladies, for sharing your kind words with our two guests today, Lynn and Rowan. I think that's us for today. Is there anything else you want to say, Lynn and Rowan, before we officially close?
Was ours.
Pleasure was ours.
Oh.
I think in terms of, because the two younger women there, I didn't give the frame of reference for my age, but I'm 69. So when I started that obsessive journey with coconut, I was probably around 20. So what has that been now? So 49, almost 50 years of weaving coconut. And lots of things in between. So I think for both, Rowan and I are about the same age. So it's the long journey ahead of you to make a difference in the world. So I wish you both, you young women, a great future ahead of you.
Thank you.
Oops, things are changing here.
Yeah, I'll quickly share can you see the mat?
Oh, yes.
Yes. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
That's
Lola, would you
fantastic.
like to say something more, Lola? Sorry, Tasha. Yeah, go, Lola. Lola, if you want to share.
Switching to
that is Laura's work, and the whole family is just really proud of her and the time that she's put in and dedication to learning her art. And she's not only just learning it, she's also trying to share what she's learned with others around her age as well. And she's now has a space where her and her dad do Fijian language every week. And also in saying that, I just wanted to say, Lynn, I love what you said about saying hands telling the story, because it is so true that each work does share a story that can be passed down to generations. So I loved when you said that.
Oh, thank you. It turns out that I've been photographing hands when I was a folklorist. I think that was I've found myself always drawn to what the person's hands look like. And actually, I think when I was out seeking out people who would teach me, I used to carry some material with me. One, because I'm not Indigenous, and two, they think, well, who is this stranger just showing up at my house and wants to learn something? So I'd work with my hands, and I could tell that they would base their willingness to teach me on how I held my hands and how I moved them.
Wow, that is amazing. Yeah.
Wow, these are incredible.
So there she is. Yeah, that's Tasha, your sister, Laura. Yeah.
Yeah, she was looking to order some mats, which she had, but with COVID, it took so long for the mats to arrive. So then she just kept asking Dad, have you got a mat? Have you got a mat that I can use, an old mat? And he's like, oh, I haven't got any. And they managed to find one amongst the thousands he has. It was an old one and it needed repair. So they used that one to then repair some of the holes that had formed in it. And she learned through that. And then just together on so many nights, sometimes till 4 o'clock in the morning, because the time difference from when I try and call her, she'd still be going. She just really poured her heart into this, and they just practice little patterns together, and they go, what do you think about doing this way or that color? So the reference was from an old mat that my grandmother had done. So a lot of it was Dad trying to recall what it looked like.
Wow.
But they managed to find an old videotape. I think it was from me coming home from the hospital after I was born. And on the videotape, I had used that mat that my grandmother had weaved. And so they sort of grabbed a snapshot of it and tried to zoom in as much as possible, despite it being very grainy. And they tried to copy it and bring it back to life again. And she's also named after my grandmother. So it was really beautiful that, and I think if my grandmother was still here, she'd be very proud of her.
Yes, Unise Randiritong. So this is a video. I don't know.
So
that's what she was doing.
Yeah.
Tasha, the base, the main part of the mat is pandanus, right?
Pandanus.
And then all this work is with yarn.
Yarn.
Yes.
So
wool.
See, my grandmother, my mum's mum, is Australian, and she loves knitting. So she'd called up Gran and said, do you have some spare wool? So my sister had gotten some extra wool there, and they did some, because I think the shops were closed at the time in Melbourne with the lockdown. So you couldn't really go to the shops to buy.
Yeah.
So it was very much a communal effort. So yeah, it's been a really amazing journey for her doing this, I think. And it's really
It's a technique.
had a lot of young people to, to see what she's been, able to do, and to try and encourage them to, preserve this practice and carry on this practice for future generations. So she's now in Fiji probably for about 5 or 6 months. She'll be there, and she's hoping to spend time with some of my aunts who also do amazing mats, weaving and all. And so she'll try and learn from them since they've learned from our grandmother as well.
Wow. Awesome. Wow. Woohoo. So what a beautiful, beautiful afternoon here in Hawaii. It's turning into evening now. So we intended to have this session for an hour, but we did it in a very island style. It's coming to 2 hours. No one is complaining. I'm loving this moment. So thank you so much. And again, if you can all show appreciation to Lynn and Rowan for sharing their knowledge with us. Mahalo nui, Rowan. Mahalo
Thank you
nui,
to
Lynn.
Tarisi. You're a wonderful facilitator. You're so positive.
Thank you. I just want to also acknowledge the Kuikapiko Anthropology Club, which is our anthropology club here at the University of Hawaii Hilo, where we all sat together and try to organize these events because of COVID-19. We usually have a very active club. We do lots of things on the ground. We go around the island and do a lot of work for the communities. But because of COVID, we couldn't do that. So we just have to make do with technology. And what a way to do this, to invite Lynn and Rowan, despite the yes, at Rowan's house. So credit to Rowan's house in Waimea. So Lola, Tasha, Gina, and Angela and Margot, when you visit the Big Island, we are all going to Rowan's house.
Yes.
Sure.
Wow. So thank you again, ladies, and we wish you all the very best with your plans for the rest of the year, a few weeks to go, and also all the best for 2022.
And to you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mahalo. Aloha.
Thank you so much. Ahui ho.
Aloha.
Thanks,
Thank
Angela.
you.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Margot.
Okay, I'm leaving. Here we go. Woo.
Naka, Lola, thank you. Yes, Naka Wakalevu to all of you for joining in on this very beautiful evening here in Hawaii, wherever you're logging in from. By looking at the names of people, I can see many connecting in from here in Hawaii, Nicole Garcia, Tomasi Bosilawa in Washington State, Eleanor Fonolahi in California, I'm sure, Anna Labrador from Manila, wow, in the Philippines, Gina Balao Nilotu in China, Ni hao, Ma. Also, Sakibito Ngavi Bulivinakaneta from Sydney, Australia, Sililo Malangi in Fiji, Arone Kitolele in the United Emirates, Sandina. And Rosaline Batikota logging in from Mongolia, Bulivinakaneta, and Sarah Pettigrew logging in from Wellington in New Zealand. So a very international group of people who are joining in today to listen in to two of our artists here in Hawaii, Lynn and Rowan from the Big Island here in Waimea. So we are looking forward in 2022, where we're going to do this more. Maybe on a Friday afternoon, we just come meet together, and I will invite an artist from different parts of the world. So I've got a huge network of artists all over the world. So come 2022, I will have a program for the year, and you can log in whenever you want to hear people who are weavers, covers, musicians, screen printing people, you name it. Yeah. We will be able to invite them here. So Vinaka Wakalevu to everybody. I really appreciate your sharing your time with us. And I will be seeing you all over the weekend, in which we're going to be inviting different speakers from the province of Maduata. We are celebrating Maduata this month, the month of December. Bekem ni toke na singa tambo na vitu na kaloko and mbongi and na menando bulan chikino Paula Gereti, Huno Paula Gereti, and then I merongo the chikona vosa vakamathuata. So on Sunday, if I translate for our English speakers, we'll be hosting Professor Paul Garrity from the University of the South Pacific. He will be sharing with us the origins of the dialects of Maduata province in Fiji. So if you're from Maduata, make sure you join us at 7 o'clock Fiji time on my Talanoa with Dr. T program. I bid you goodbye and be safe, and I'll see you again. Isa mo de.